This is the WHTC Morning News with Gary Stevens and Peg McNichol on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
Welcome back to the WHTC Morning News for this Tuesday, August the 17th. Tuesday mornings, we have a chance to chat with Congressman Fred Upton, who represents Allegan County in the U.S. House. He joins us from his home in the St. Joseph area this morning via the Zoom connection. Fred, good morning. Hope all is well with you and the family this morning.
It is. My crew is up and at 'em, and feet on the floor, and we've had a cup of coffee, and it looks to be a Chamber of Commerce day here in Southwest Michigan.
Chamber of Commerce throughout the entire region. Let's get to some of the business and some of the news of the day. Before our segment, your colleague in Zeeland, Bill Huizinga, in his response to what happened in the events in Afghanistan, said that if any Americans or allies of America are harmed by the Taliban in Afghanistan, there should be swift and decisive action taken. Your thoughts about whether or not this pullout means we're going to have to go right back in on this, or what?
Well, a couple things. Obviously, a very tough number of days. I know on my staff, we've been working to get some of the translators out that had contacted us, that we actually heard from some of our constituents who served in Afghanistan, and they identified a number of translators that we're trying to get out. I'm not sure if we've succeeded or not. We actually got them to the airport yesterday, but I'm not sure that they actually got on a plane. I've seen some video. But, you know, the whole thing, and you said this earlier in your broadcast, it seems as though our withdrawal has been really botched. We had a great air base in Bagram, not too far from Kabul, and we just evacuated, left it literally with no notice at all, not providing air cover then for our fighters that are there. And you'd think that would be a wonderful staging point. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that would be a great staging point for us to remove not only U.S. assets, whether it be equipment or personnel, but also those thousands of Afghan translators and others that really helped us, that otherwise feel like we've left them high and dry. So instead, we're forced to deal out of the Kabul airport. You know, Kabul's a pretty big city. About 5-6 million people live there. I've been there. It's a lot harder to evacuate from there if, in fact, the Taliban wanted to do something than it would have been had we been at our Bagram Air Force Base. So just a lot of things that are going on. I think the signal has been sent. We'll see what happens in the next couple of days. Again, I saw some video of literally, 650 people or so on one of the C-17s that was leaving. Horrifying video of people hanging on to planes and then dropping from who knows how high, but obviously to their death. It's my understanding that our ambassador is still there. We know that personnel is there. I'm going to be talking to some folks at the State Department a little bit later this morning to talk and listen to see how we're doing in actually getting folks out of there, whether it be U.S. personnel or people that helped us.
Peg McNichol has a question from the newsroom. Go ahead, Peg.
It's slightly two-part. I know when we exited Saigon, we left behind 400 plus people. They just couldn't get them out. And I know that's one of the big concerns, as you and others have mentioned. How are you going to make sure that any of the Afghans who've helped the Americans are out safely without being identified and killed by the Taliban? Because that's what I hear is one of the big questions. And the other part of it is, it's a two-parter. In terms of immigration and getting these refugees here, how do you guys factor in the safety of them as they get here and the numbers? I mean, people already have issues with immigrants, but this is different than people just wanting to immigrate to the United States. Can you talk about those two things?
A lot of good questions and no answers to really either one. I don't know where we're even flying these folks to. Are they going to India? Are they going to Pakistan? Are they going, where are they? I know that I saw a report over the weekend that Canada has agreed to take 20,000 folks who are there. I presume we're going to have a significant number coming here as well. But, they have to be vetted. We have to make sure that they're not infiltrated by some terrorists, particularly as we think about 9/11 coming up and anniversary of 9/11 coming up in just a couple of weeks, and who knows what might be there. But we also have to try and, I guess, negotiate or have an understanding with the Taliban that we want these people out. But already, you can see reports on Drudge and other things this morning. Taliban's knocking on doors in a lot of different cities. I heard this yesterday as well, whether it be Jalalabad or other places. And if they suspect that they worked with the Americans, they're done. They're being killed, let alone the fear that we have in terms of the impact on women and children that are there as well. Sex slaves, all those different things, Sharia law, things that frankly the Western culture just doesn't have a very good understanding or certainly respect for.
A couple of other things. One other thing too, I want to follow up on the aftermath of what has happened in Afghanistan. Two things. Concerns should we have that what we left behind, besides people in Afghanistan, could be used against us? Information, secret stuff. How assured should we be that we didn't leave behind more than just the Afghan people?
Well, we left a ton of stuff there. I mean, you can see it again, the video this morning of the Taliban in Kabul, and they've got American-made weapons and ammunition. I heard reports that, and I've been to our embassy there. I was there in Kabul a few years ago. But I know that they tried to destroy equipment, shred, a lot of shredding, a lot of burning of documents. But let's face it, there's a treasure trove of U.S. taxpayer provided goods that we just simply couldn't get rid of because of the fast acceleration of getting out of there and meeting the deadline. Remember, former President Trump said May 1st, and Biden said September, and they accelerated it, and there's a lot of stuff left there.
Yeah, it might be a case of, we're going to have to go past those deadlines to be on the safe side. But again, that's hindsight 2020. The other thing I want to bring up on this subject, and then we'll talk a little bit about infrastructure. How concerned should people in Taiwan and the Ukraine, other nations who have looked to the U.S. for help against more assertive adversaries? Hey, if it happened in Afghanistan, who's to say it can't happen with us?
Well, this is where you need our diplomatic approach to countries that have been our friends and allies, whether they be Ukraine or, our friends in the Southeast Asia, whether it be Australia, New Zealand, obviously Taiwan, South Korea, all those countries. You need to make sure that there is a hands-on approach by our diplomatic corps and a real signal sent by this administration to say, we're with you still. Hopefully we still have your back, period.
Yeah. The situation in Afghanistan could lead to some questions along those lines, legitimate questions, Fred, along those lines. Obviously, the circumstances in Kabul and in Afghanistan have overshadowed the efforts to get the infrastructure deal. The Senate cleared it. Now it's on the House's turn. And as we have discussed before, and you have brought up the fact that the package itself, no amendments, but yet the Democratic leadership in the House apparently wants to tie bar this to another bill that may be kind of tough for Republicans to swallow.
Well, no Republicans are going to vote for this second bill. I mean, it undoes the Trump tax cuts, spending out the wazoo. I mean, it just, $3.5 trillion. I am focused on what we call the BIF, the bipartisan infrastructure bill. This is the bill that passed better than 2-1 in the Senate. It was bipartisan, something the problem solvers have been working on really for a number of months. And I'm delighted that a number of our problem solver Democrats joined in an effort over the weekend that said to the speaker, we're not going to vote for this larger package. And they had more than enough votes to block it. So we go back to Washington on Monday. We got votes. Who knows how long next week? Maybe she'll keep us for a couple of weeks. I don't know. As she tries to twist arms, maybe we're going to need some surgeons in there to fix some broken arms and legs. We'll see. But hopefully at the end of the day, we're able to deal with this bipartisan plan that really does go after roads and bridges and things, broadband, our energy grid, that type of thing. Be able to have the votes to send that without this massive $3.5 trillion bill that, frankly, the president does want. So does Schumer, so does Pelosi, so do a good number of the Democrats. But right now, it looks like we got the votes to stop that. And I hope that is still in place. So when we get back to Washington next week.
One final thing, and I hate to end our conversation on a sad note, but certainly law enforcement throughout the region mourning the death of a Kalamazoo County Sheriff's deputy in the line of duty. I saw a video from Holland Department of Public Safety with a ceremonial procession to the police headquarters and the statue on 8th and Pine in commemoration of what has happened in Kalamazoo. And yeah, it brings to light the fact that those who swore to protect and to serve may ultimately have to pay the price in a tough situation.
Well, it was a bad weekend on a lot of fronts, and that certainly led the way. I met with a number of our law enforcement officials last week on other issues, including Sheriff Fuller. And he reached out to me late, actually it was Sunday morning, it was after midnight, Saturday night. We've conferred a number of times now, just a tragic thing. And like so many officers, I mean, take the female officer that was shot and killed last weekend in Chicago. Wonderful futures, families. Why is it that they always have 4 kids? Just breaks our heart. A local guy stayed in the community, and it was really an unlucky shot by the suspect, who, while driving, and I've gone on ride-alongs with our officers. They're wearing vests. I mean, that shot missed his vest, and I think it got him in the head. He had no choice, no chance. Just so sad. And we think about these. We ought to be so grateful for the men and women that take on this profession to really try to keep our community safe. We've seen a real uptick in gun violence over, not only here, but around the country. The mayor of Benton Harbor today is pleading for 21 days of safety. I think we're on day number 7 since he made that plea. He's going to have a press conference today. Again, I've been with him a number of days as we just try to enforce the laws that are on the books and remind people that, thank you, officers. Thanks for all you do. And tragically, we'll lay this young man to rest probably later this week. Really good guy.
Unfortunately, we have to end our conversation on that note, Fred, but we appreciate you joining us this morning to share your thoughts on some of the things going on. Wish you a safe trip to Washington next week. And if all goes well, if the timing works out fine, let's do this again next Tuesday morning. Thank you, sir.
We will. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Fred Upton on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.